Hey, so my wife was driving home from work last week, and she's almost home, coming off the exit to her home, just about another mile or two to go. And suddenly, a policeman turns their lights on and gets behind my wife's car. And we just love that, don't we? And so she's not sure why she's being stopped. So, of course, he asked for her license and registration. Well, guess what? Her registration has been gone or out, not updated for several months. Never realized it. And I'm just, when she told me what had happened when she got home, I was like, I'm so sorry, honey. I can't find a record for your registration being taken care of. I usually keep track of these things. And, like many of us, when we get the paperwork in the mail, we take care of it as quickly as we can, get it out of the way. But I couldn't find a record for her registration. So unfortunately, got a fine. And but we're guilty as charged. So then I looked up my own registration, and I realized that mine is due actually at the end of this month, and I don't remember getting any paperwork. And so by the time 2 or 3 days went by, after talking with my wife for a while and talking with some church members, I literally convinced myself that they never sent me anything. I'm thinking, maybe it's the COVID-19 situation, closing the, Pennsylvania Department of Transportation, PennDOT. I'm thinking to myself, I bet they never sent me anything because I don't have any paperwork for registration. I know I would take care of it because I do that every year. Usually online, I'll take care of it. So I was so convinced. And so I was like, okay, I got to make sure I take care of mine. Then my wife decided the other day that she would clean up my desk in my office. You probably know what's about to happen. So she says, honey, guess what I found? It was a letter from PennDOT for my registration to be renewed for 2020. It was on my desk the whole time, and I just let it sit there. Again, the moral of the story is I convinced myself, or should I say I deceived myself into thinking that I never received this paperwork. So I got to make sure I take care of it, right? But before I do that, I wanted to share a couple of Bible verses with you, because we have a tendency as human beings to deceive ourselves, don't we? And the devil is the great deceiver, isn't he? And he loves to get us to be deceived. So I just want to share 1 John chapter 1 verse 8. 1 John chapter 1 verse 8 says, if we claim we have no sin, we are only fooling ourselves and not living in the truth. It's easy for us to think, hey, I'm a pretty good person, or I'm having a pretty good track record in regards to my performance or my lifestyle, when in reality, perhaps we are deceiving ourselves into thinking these things. Doesn't mean we should beat ourselves over the head all the time, but at the same time, we tend to look at ourselves a little bit better than perhaps the truth really is. Another verse I want to share is 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 10 through 12. And the context of this is talking about the Antichrist, who will rise up big time before Jesus comes again. Though I think he's out there right now. And if you watch our studies on the book of Daniel, chapter 7, at our Kissinger's Church YouTube channel, you'll see that we are talking about who the Antichrist is in Bible prophecy. So be sure to check that out. But 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 10 through 12, it says, he, the Antichrist, will use every kind of evil deception to fool those on their way to destruction. To fool those on their way to destruction. Because they refuse to love and accept the truth that would save them. So God will cause them to be greatly deceived. And they will believe these lies. Then they will be condemned for enjoying evil rather than believing the truth. So friends, when we choose sin, when we choose evil, when we choose darkness, we actually allow the devil to deceive us. And in a way, we're working with him to deceive ourselves. And one more verse, Matthew chapter 24, verse 24, Matthew 24, 24. Jesus says this will take place at the end of time. Matthew 24, 24, it says, for false messiahs and false prophets will rise up and perform great signs and wonders as to deceive, if possible, even God's chosen ones. So we can't be overly confident, folks. Just as I deceived myself into thinking I had taken care of my registration and my wife's registration, it cost me a few $100 to realize that I was wrong. So friends, let's keep looking in the mirror. Let's be careful that we don't be too critical of others. But at the same time, let's look in the mirror and let's look at God's word. Let's look at his holy law, and let's allow him to reveal what there is about us that can be changed, that can be different by the grace of God. Let's not be deceived through the devil or by ourselves. May God bless you richly. Have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.